Red Voyage News, splashing the check-in. Thank you for tuning in, and forgive me for talking so low. It's almost 3 o'clock in the morning out here, and I haven't even uploaded a video all day. And I wanted to do this before the end of my day. Okay, so I have an article right here by way of the New York Times. As birth rate falls, South Korea's population declines, posing threat to economy. All right, so the number of deaths have increased in South Korea, and the birth rate has fell. Now, I have a theory behind this. I do have a theory, okay? Number one, South Korea has been deemed as one of the least affectionate countries on the planet. And I've been hearing this since the 90s, that they say, you know, couples and relationships, like the men are the least affectionate towards the women. Another thing, like the suicide rate is number 1 in Asia. South Korea has the number 1 suicide rate in Asia, and it's number 10 amongst all the countries in the world. So it's 197 countries on this planet, and South Korea ranks number 10 when it comes to the suicide rate. You know, years ago, there used to be more men than women in South Korea. The male to female ratio, there used to be more men than women in South Korea. Now in 2021, there's more women than men in South Korea. And out of all the races on the planet, the Asian woman dates outside of her race more than any other race on this planet. I mean, you could look this up now. It's slowly decreasing, but it's still the highest out of all the women on the planet. Asian women are more likely to date outside of their race more than any other woman. Any other race of women on the planet. So that might be something to think about as well. And another thing that a lot of people don't talk about is the debt crisis in South Korea. Like, people don't really talk about this. And the amount of pressure and stress that a lot of people are under because of the debt crisis in South Korea has pushed a lot of people towards suicide. So if you don't know, like, every minute, the South Korean household debt rises every 100,000 US dollars every minute. So right now, I've been talking for 2.5 minutes. The South Korean household debt has just risen 250,000 US dollars. Every 12 minutes, a South Korean is declared bankrupt. Let me say that again. Every 12 minutes, a South Korean is declared bankrupt. The country of South Korea has the highest household debt to GDP ratio in Asia. Okay. Now, between 2014 and the year 2018, that 4-year gap, more than 800 people tried to kill themselves by jumping off of the Maypo Bridge in Seoul, South Korea. The top reason for suicide in South Korea is debt. The main thing that drives people to suicide because of debt is shame. Shame that comes from these loan sharks out in South Korea. These loan sharks are straight up gangsters out there. Like, I watched a documentary where, like, there were loan sharks they were lending money to kids in high school. Okay, so there are kids in high school, 14, 15, 16, 17 years old, who are in debt. You know, student loans, car loans, home mortgages, small business loans, and credit card loans. And this is fact. I'm not making this up. You can look this up. Koreans use credit cards more widely than anyone else in the world. You know, the consumerist culture in Korea is fairly new. If you guys remember, back in 1997, there was a financial crisis in Korea, and the government tried to kickstart the economy by asking the public to spend. You know, they gave tax breaks. They gave tax breaks for credit card payments, people who were paying for items off of a credit card. You know, the number of companies that were issuing credit cards to the public exploded, and they gave them limits that were out of their salary range, and they were not able to pay back. And millions of people defaulted on their credit card payments. You know, and as the years went on, credit card limits would increase. And there are people who still owe money, that are still in debt from 1997 in South Korea. it's a very trendy society. Like South Korea is kind of similar to China. It's very trendy. If they can't afford to follow the trend, they won't be happy. And then that leads to suicide. You know, the amount of teens that were treated for gambling addictions jumped by 6 times from 2015 to 2019 in South Korea. Most of them, they were gambling on illegal websites. In South Korea, they have a messenger app called Kakao Talk, right? And they use a lot of loan sharks. They use Kakao Talk. It's kind of similar to what's that called? WhatsApp. Everybody knows what WhatsApp is. So Kakao Talk is similar to WhatsApp, and they use that messenger to gain more customers, and they even lend to high school students, like I said earlier. And these debt collectors, they'll go straight up to the high school to collect the debt from the students. And here's another fact too. 1 in every 100 adults in South Korea are in debt with loan sharks. 10% of South Koreans between the ages of 15 and 29. So 1 in 10 of South Koreans between the age of 15 and 29 are unemployed. 2 out of 10 South Koreans don't have jobs and don't have education. They're just idling their lives away. So 20% of the population in South Korea are uneducated. And right now, unemployment with the youth is at a 17-year high in South Korea. They cannot find a job because the competition is fierce. And what do you think COVID has done over there? You know, there's over 6 million business owners in South Korea. Most of them don't become business owners because they want to. It's because their backs are against the wall. And most of these business owners over there in South Korea, they own chicken restaurants, chicken and beer restaurants. And the market is oversaturated with chicken and beer in South Korea. I mean, it's so popular that, get this, there are 87,000 chicken and beer restaurants in South Korea. That's double the McDonald's that are around the world. These businesses usually don't qualify for bank loans, so they have to get loans from loan sharks. And, you know, the interest is so high on these loans that they can't afford to even pay it back. More than half of Korean adults in Korea do not qualify for bank loans. They end up taking out loans from loan sharks, right? And like I mentioned earlier, on top of this, you know, COVID has hit South Korea pretty bad. All right. So you can imagine like how many businesses that are going out of business, foreclosure, people just getting divorced, you know, losing the house, losing their marriage, losing their girlfriend, losing their boyfriend. You know, the suicide rate, it's insane. And the debt is just increasing. So, you know, I hope you found this interesting and you look up some of the things that I said. All right. So splash, man, like, subscribe, comment, share this video. If you want to support the channel, you know, subscribe and click the link below to my Buy Me a Coffee page. If you just want to send a donation, you could do it through that page. If you want to become a member to my Buy Me a Coffee page, do so. I have a couple videos on there talking about Asian culture. All right. I'll see you on the next video. Take care.